look at my Wordle game along with an option to, let's say, guess the letters as we always do. I also have two extra buttons, which is help and hint. Now, what these two is quite interesting. Let's say I guessed party, so I know A and Y are in my R and Y are in my word, but not in the right places. Let me try music, which is what I always do. Well, unfortunately, none of them is there, and let me try haunt. Uh, so this tells me, look, O and E are in the right place, and besides that, there is R and Y, but not in the right places. Now, let's say at this point, if I go and ask for help, you remember the letters that have been used already are marked, let's say, white background and green color. If I click on help, it tells me, well, three letters have been removed. Three letters that I had not used, that are not a part of the word, have been also further marked. So I think there's a G, H, and J. Oh, well, H I've used, but say G, J, and K. So now I've not used those letters, but it tells me that, look, it's not one of these words. So basically, it kind of helps me by, narrowing down the search space. And that's the meaning of help here. Now, if I click on hint, for instance, it tells me, look, my word is F O dash E dash something. Now, see here carefully. O and E I knew were in the right position. In effect, it has told me, look, there's an F over here. I can definitely, let's say I can try to do, I know there's no D, but let's just try to rule out some letters by saying foxed. Okay, so I knew there was no D anyway, and I know now there's no X also, but this F is definitely there. So if I think through it more, okay, so in fact, I know the answer because there's R, there is Y. I should have seen this earlier, and hence the answer has to be foyer. So when I do this, it gets me the answer. Now the point is, when I'm giving a hint, there's no point in telling you a hint which is a letter that you have already guessed. Hence, I'm picking up those letters that you have not guessed and telling you one of those letters. Now, another implementation of this would have been, I ask your choice. Okay, you want to know letter number 1, 3, or 5 in this case, or whatever letter you want to know, you could do it, but I'm doing it this way. Now, clearly, we are enhancing the Wordle project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. We will do this in a step-by-step manner. In this video, we'll just see how we get these buttons, and these labels in this position. In fact, you probably already guessed it. We are going to create a new frame to hold these. We'll see how we do this in this video. And then in the subsequent two videos, we'll first see the help function and then the hint function. Um, so I get back here to my code. Remember, my game right now has only this. From here we'll get on to, let's say, creating the help and the hint button. Now, in order to go from here to, let's say, where we want to get to, I will, like we discussed, create new frames. And that's what I'll just do in this video. So I'm just going to create, let's say, a new frame called the HH frame. So I just go and say HH frame, for example, is, well, my help and hint frame. And I'm going to put this as tk.frame. This frame must appear in the window as expected. I'm going to put border width of, let's say, 1. Now just any number is fine, and I'm going to put relief as, let's say, raised here again, just to give a certain look. You can change this easily. The important bit is that, remember, my help and hint frame must appear underneath these two. Hence, this is row 0 with respect to the frames, and hence this must be row 1. So I'm going to put this as, let's say, dot grid. Say row equals to 0, row equals to 1, column equals to 0. And since I want this frame to span both the columns, I go and put column span is equal to 2. And as always, I will put my sticky, let's say, parameter, because that makes it makes sure that the whole thing just gets taken up. I will also give a small bit of, let's say, vertical separation, so pad y, and then sticky is equal to tk.nsew. This is what I always do. Now, having created this, I need to create two buttons. So let me just create one here. Say help button is equal to tk.button. Now, this button should be in the HH frame because that's where we want it to be. Text is going to be help. Let's say width, I'll put as 10. Now again, these are things that you can play with. And I'm going to put command as, a function called get help. Obviously, right now, this will be just a placeholder, but later on, we'll come back and populate this. But remember, again, this has just defined the widget. I must go and put it on the grid. So I'm going to say help button dot grid. Remember now this grid refers to the particular frame that we are in. So I'm just going to say row equals to 0, column equals to 0. And to give some x separation, I just put pat x equals to, let's say, 25. Now again, these are things that you should sort of you'll have to experiment a little bit, and you may want to do it differently for your project. Now when I come back to the hint, when I get to the hint button, again the same thing. Of course the frame has to be the same, but this becomes a hint. Width remains 10. Command is get hint, and my hint button will be placed at, let's say, so hint button must be placed in column number 1, because that appears on the right side, and this should really be fine. But for me to be able to run this, I'll have to define two functions. So let me just create placeholders for now. So I just go and say, well, def say get help, and for now I'll just put the pass over here, and likewise I'll do def say get hint, hint, and again I'll just put a pass over here. So with this done, if I run this, I expect to see those buttons coming up, and indeed that's exactly what I see. Obviously these buttons are not functioning right now, but I get the buttons exactly as I was. Now having done this, I'm also going to create two new labels, one for the help, one for the hint. For now I'll keep them empty, but later on as the game proceeds we will populate them as well. So I just go and say, well, help label is tk dot label, sorry, tk dot label. Now again, remember this must come into the HH form, HH frame. So I just go and say HH frame, and I just put text is equal to empty. Again, you can play with the font and stuff to make it look, let's say, different and more beautiful perhaps. But I'm just going to say, well, help label dot grid. Now again, think of the of the HH frame. In this we have two rows and two columns. So this grid refers to that HH frame, since that's where it is. I'm going to say, well, this should be in row equals to 1, because basically row number 0 is the help and the hint button, and the column should be 0. Very nice to think about how this whole thing is working, and that should really be that should really be all we need, in fact, right? And here I will just copy this and say place it here to say be hint label. Again, text is empty, but I will put this on. So hint label, I'm going to put this on column number 1, because this must appear on the right side of the help label. Just for now, let's just let me just write some labels here so that we can sort of understand how this thing is being placed. You notice when I run this piece of code, I see a help text here, which means the label has been created and it's placed in exactly where I want it to be. And there's also hint text being created. Now, obviously in the next project, in the next video, when we build these features, we will empty out these and we will fill these up as the game proceeds, and as the, as we actually get help and a hint. We'll come back to that in the next video, but I hope this was interesting to you. Building projects, enhancing them, thinking about the different ways they work, is a great way to learn programming. Look at our website www.ybyte.in, because that is what we do at Ybyte. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.